Live from Fargo and serving you on TV, online, and on the go. This is Valley News Live 10 at 10.
Fargo's annual Downtown Street Fair draws shoppers from all over. For those with something to sell, you'd think it's a time for everyone to smile, but that's not the case for some store owners.
Local businesses are cornerstones in communities across North Dakota and Minnesota, so it should be prime time when street fairs take over the downtown area.
But some local shops are not as excited about the added foot traffic as you might think. Valley News Team's Cornelius Hawker explains.
When you think of any street fair, you think of people, and with people comes money to support local and small businesses. But some challenge that idea. One business, Doggy Digestibles, writing the street fair booths in Fargo were too expensive and didn't seem supportive of small businesses. And Dan Herter, an owner of several restaurants in the area, saying the street fair is a challenging weekend for restaurants downtown. Those critics aside, most seem to welcome this influx of people to the downtown Fargo area, like Kitsona manager Samantha Hayes.
We get a lot of people from not only the Fargo-Moorhead area, but we get it from surrounding areas that have never really heard of us before.
The women's clothing store was bustling with people when we were there, some discovering the place for the first time.
Get them downtown, get them just checking everything out.
You even have businesses who put up signs like this, which may seem off-putting to some, but the manager says it's been quite the opposite.
There's a lot of people downtown for the fair, milling about, and not a lot of amenities downtown, and so when people pop in here, we prefer them to buy, and it's certainly been driving business.
The mixed reaction to a fair that happens every year may be a sign that some businesses will eventually change their business practices to better engage the added customers walking down the streets during events like this. Cornelius Hawker, Valley News Live.
Street fairs are an annual tradition here in the Valley with regular appearances in cities like Fargo, Grand Forks, and Detroit Lakes.
A 54-year-old motorcyclist is fighting for his life after hitting a deer in Becker County. The Minnesota State Patrol reports that Charles Willett of Lake Park, Minnesota, was traveling westbound on Highway 10 near Long Lake Road around 1 this afternoon. 3 deer ran across the roadway. Willett struck one of the deer. Investigators say he was not wearing a helmet at the time of the crash. He's being treated at a Detroit Lakes hospital.
Last night, a series of garages were broken into at a Fargo apartment complex.
Valley News Team's Molly Casey spoke to a local property management company about ways to keep apartment complexes safe.
Normally, you would always want to close your garage door.
Fargo PD posted this alert online after a man entered into an open garage at the Carlton Place Apartments and broke through walls into other garages. Thankfully, nothing was reported missing and most were empty.
Always lock your vehicle, even if it's inside any garage.
Tammy Hauk is the director of Valley Rentals. Though the complex isn't under her company, she says the renter who left the garage open could face a fine.
Tenants should always refer to their lease and speak with their property manager in terms of if there would be fees or fines that the tenant might be charged if they leave something open or unlocked.
Those fines are unique to each property, but Tammy says it's better to speak up if something seems wrong.
If you always close your garage door and you see garage doors open, whether there's vehicles inside or not, report that to your property manager so that they can check into it.
And even if you close your garage door, don't assume your belongings are safe.
Practice that you keep the valuables in very safe keeping and not in a garage at any circumstance.
Garage doors aren't the only security concern. Tenants should ensure the complex door is secure too.
Make sure that if it doesn't close, that you would report that to your maintenance hotline or 24-hour service so that maintenance can fix that door to make sure it's always closed. Make sure it's closing when you're coming and going.
So whether it's the garage door or a complex door, it's better that they're closed.
So it's very good to care about one another and make sure that things are locked and safekeeping for everybody on the property.
From Fargo, Molly Casey, Valley News Live.
Maintenance phone numbers for apartment complexes should be included in rental paperwork or posted on the property management's website, but suspicious activity should be reported to police.
A Fargo duo could be facing a combined 90 years behind bars if they're found guilty of charges linked to undercover drug buys throughout the south side of Fargo. Court documents outline 5 buys by undercover cops between June 20th and 28th. Some of those buys happening in places like Kmart, Taco Bell, and the Bowler on South University Drive, along with the Countryside Trailer Court. Altogether, $1,750 worth of meth was purchased. James Eason and Shantae Turner were both arrested. A search warrant of Turner's residence turned up even more meth. Both Eason and Turner have their first court dates in early August.
It's Friday and time to take a look at this week's Valley's Most Wanted. Fargo police say Ali Hashi is wanted for felony theft charges. You can call your local law enforcement if you have any information on Hashi. To date, the Valley's Most Wanted program has helped police make more than 580 arrests.
Filing taxes, a task individuals and businesses alike endure every year.
The president of the South Dakota Farm Bureau is in Washington this week. He wants to take the tax burden off of farmers like himself.
He tells Valley News Team's Peter Zampa what they need as lawmakers work to reform the tax code.
Every dollar that we pay in taxes could be spent to expand our businesses.
Scott Vanderwall representing South Dakota farmers in Washington. He's looking for big changes to the tax code, as are many Republicans on Capitol Hill.
If we could take some of our time and financial effort that goes into this tax code and use it for the production management of our farms, that would really be helpful.
Vanderwall testified in front of the House Ways and Means Committee, the committee in charge of tax policy. He told members it's hard for small farm owners to comply with a complex tax code and tend to their farms at the same time. South Dakota Congresswoman Kristi Noem says lawmakers are getting close to relieving the burden.
One of the key components of tax reform is not just lowering rates, but also making the IRS more accountable, simpler.
I will be looking at how tax reform can better help families as well as our small businesses.
Alabama Congresswoman Terry Sewell says there are agreements, but she says lawmakers will not be successful unless both sides of the aisle are seated at the table.
We've been in talks with the Republicans about the tax reform, but we have not been asked to participate in crafting the comprehensive tax reform. In order for it to be truly long-lasting and be something that will sustain the test of time, it truly has to be bipartisan.
In Washington, Peter Zampa, Valley News Live.
As of now, there's no set timeline for passing comprehensive tax reform, though Republicans say they plan to get it done this year.
Usually, running on all fours is frowned upon in 5Ks, but an exception was made for one event tonight. The Not Your Everyday 5K lets pet owners take their furry friends out for a stroll while raising money for the Homeward Animal Shelter. The shelter brought out some of its pets that are up for adoption to participate in the event. It's put on by Hooligans and Orange Theory Fitness, with hopes of giving some of these animals a home, regardless of the breed.
A lot of people tend to be excited about one particular breed over another and really look towards those types of animals. But there's so many animals that need homes that may not fit into those categories.
100% of the proceeds will go toward Homeward Animal Shelter.